Nada, you can come on into room number 1. Gabriel, you can go to room number 2. Hello, Nadia.
Hi. Hi there, I'm Dr. Masood. Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Alright, so looking at your medical history, I can see that cystic fibrosis runs in your family, so you made the right decision to come in and get tested.
Are you familiar with the disorder?
No, I know that it runs in my family, but I never really paid attention to it because neither of my parents have ever gotten it.
Okay, well, I'll explain it to you. So cystic fibrosis is a progressive disease where the glands that produce secretions like mucus and sweat don't function properly. So what can end up happening is that thick mucus accumulates in your lungs and you have a really hard time breathing, and infection can develop very easily. Okay, so this is a genetic disorder. So if I'm a carrier and I decide to have kids, what are the chances that they'll be affected?
Cystic fibrosis is an autosomal recessive disorder. So what that means, if you were to have a child with a person who was a carrier, there'd be a 25% chance that the child would have cystic fibrosis.
There's also a 50% chance that your child could carry cystic fibrosis, and there's a 25% chance that your child would be unaffected. So you have to think about if you'd want to have children or if you don't, and it's important to keep in mind that there is no cure for cystic fibrosis.
Okay, so we'll send you for testing and we'll see you when the results get back.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Oh hey, I saw you here last week.
Oh yeah, hi.
Hey, so cystic fibrosis? Have you been affected?
Well, I'm actually getting some results back to see if I'm a carrier or not.
Yeah, me too. The doctor really got me thinking last week. Like when she asked if I wanted to have children. I've always been really passionate about having children, and now I have to reevaluate. I think it's still okay to have kids though.
Yeah, my doctor got me thinking too, but you really think it's okay to have kids?
Yeah, the chances of passing the defective gene are really low. My parents were unaffected, and I don't even know if I'm a carrier yet. It can skip generations and not even show up. And since it's a recessive gene, my partner and I would both have to be carriers for our child to even have a 25% chance of getting cystic fibrosis. What are the chances that my partner would have the defective gene?
Yeah, but even if your children don't get cystic fibrosis, there's a 50% chance that they could be a carrier. That just means that it'll keep going in your family for generations, even if not many people are affected. And there will always be a risk of passing it on. I wouldn't want to keep that going in my family. For me, even the knowledge that I'm at risk for being a carrier is hard to deal with. I wouldn't want anyone else to go through it. I think it's wrong to have a kid.
Who's to tell me that I shouldn't have a child because of this associated risk? It's my choice, everyone has equal rights. If they start telling me that I can't have kids just because of genetic condition that I may or may not pass on, who are they going to tell next? What about people with asthma or heart disease? Those are conditions that you may be predisposed to genetically. Does that mean that these people shouldn't have kids too? If we turn to history, people with the power to affect human rights have discriminated against even the physical differences. Where do we draw the line?
Okay, but think about the cost of having a sick child. Could you even support a sick child? Going to the hospitals or doctors often, constant care, prescription costs. These things would all add up. Would you be able to afford doing all that? You might even have to leave your job to take care of your child 24/7. Then who would pay their medical bill? The child's life would be affected by not only the disorder, but financially as well.
But those financial costs are worth it because they are funding the medical treatment which allows for people with these conditions to live longer. Because they have longer lives and medical treatment controls their symptoms, they can actually make a difference. People with genetic disorders go to school, have jobs, and function in society better than they have in the past. It would be a shame for parents to stop having children just because of the stigma which is associated with genetic disorders.
Well, even though there are medical treatments that let them live longer, it doesn't mean that they won't have to suffer. Cystic fibrosis is a very degenerative disease. Think about the physical suffering. The pain associated with the disorder is really hard to deal with. And then, there's also the emotional pain associated with being sick. Other than anxiety and depression, a child would feel different, left out, and would feel like a burden. Would it be right to have children knowing that there is a chance that they could suffer for their whole lives when you could have prevented it in the first place?
Nyada, you can go into room number 1.
Okay, well, I guess I'll see you later. Good luck.
You too.